Welcome
Hey
back to the
guys.
Life and Leverage podcast.
Guys.
We got a special guest here, Michael Zanetti, here today
Hey, welcome,
from
dude.
Target Academy. Just the all around cool dude, as it says on your Facebook.
It does say that. All jokes aside, it does say all around cool dude. So,
I don't know what that makes me then.
yeah, well, let's not go there. Do they have an old dude option? I think they have an old dude option. You should check
Yeah,
that
the
one out.
old dude. Yeah, it's definitely coming through with the beard now, right?
The old cool dude option. That's what I'm saying.
Well, it's getting thinner on the top, so I had to decide to grow a little bit here. So there you go.
The transplant?
Wel-
Is that the unofficial
welcome, Z.
transplant?
Welcome, Mr. Zanetti.
Yeah, welcome, buddy. I mean, I wanted to kind of just introduce you and some of your background first in the beginning before we get into some of the other stuff that we wanted to talk about. But, why don't you tell us a little bit about who Michael Zanetti is in your past there, Mr. Dadpreneur?
So I grew up doing that traditional American lifestyle, right? So worked my ass off in high school, ended up at a decent college, got a great opportunity coming right out of college, worked for a large investment bank, did okay there, spent a good portion of my early life there. Somewhere along that path, I picked up a law degree too. Really enjoyed doing investment banking, but if any of you guys know that business, it burns you out. I left the business in the late 2000s and started off doing some consulting work. I've done consulting work for a wide range of different businesses. My sort of specialty was being a turnaround specialist, right? So I'd go into businesses that were either struggling or at a startup phase and couldn't get out of it, and getting them to that stable or enterprise level, either preparing them for public sale or for buyout, for general sale, right? So did that for a number of years. Worked in a lot of different industries, everything from restaurants to I've worked with healthcare companies, insurance companies, law firms, you name it, up and down the pipe. And about 5 years ago, I discovered a couple of really successful traders who, I wasn't necessarily in the trading industry prior to that and excited about it. To be frank with you, I thought a lot of it was bullshit. But I saw these two guys, and one of the things that impressed me the most about them was not even them, it was their students. It was the success that their students were achieving. And I said, you know what, I can get on board with this. So I had a conversation with them. I came in to help them kind of launch the company. And that company is now Target Trading Academy. It's one of the only businesses that I haven't jumped in and turned around and sold. I've stayed in it. I'm a firm believer in the concept and what the business actually does for people. And since then, we've branched out. We've got a number of different satellite companies to target that provide additional services, things that are helping out the general community of trading, right? Everything from Flytech computers to to a trading lab, which underwrites different types of trading software, to you name it. So there's a lot of different aspects of what we do that are all correlated around this general idea of trading. So
which part do you think like prepared you the most for getting into this part of business? Like when you based on the other things that you've done, what part made you think like I think I can get into the trading aspect? Like what was the part that drove you towards it?
So it's funny. It actually has nothing to do with the trading side. When you work in different industries, and most businesses are driven by sales, right? Most businesses are driven by selling something. And let's say like you work, you're helping out. I'm just using this as an example, but you're working with a car dealership, right? And that car dealership then has to push those sales. And at some point, some of the sales and the methods that they use might not necessarily be, I don't want to say they're not above board, but you gotta pressure people, right?
Yeah.
And then you work in
Hard sell.
healthcare. It's a hard sell, right? And then you work in healthcare, and when you're working in healthcare and you're working with a doctor that's actually helping sick patients as they come in, that's one thing. But if you're working on elective surgeries where people are going and getting like breast augmentation or Botox or their lips done, again, you're selling a product. And a lot of times it's a hard sale component. One of the things that attracted me the most to trading and made me get rid of a lot of the other things I was working on and focus on this was the idea of changing people's lives, doing something good. And you say, well, how is trading doing something good? Well, when you talk to people who have been through major financial downfalls in their life, right? Maybe they had a good career with a company and then that company let them go one day, right? Yes, they got a severance package that lasted them 6 months, right? But what about the 20 years that they put in before that? When you talk to families that maybe they're doing okay, but for all intents and purposes, they're living paycheck to paycheck and they're dependent on that paycheck. And if that paycheck goes away, they're in financial ruin, right?
Yep.
What we were able to do with Target Trading Academy was take away to a significant degree that lack of control. Okay. That's what appealed to me. It isn't the trading and the making money, because there's a lot of things you can go out there and do and make money, right? But it's the idea that you have a sense of control over it, right? That you can control your own destiny. And in today's world, things are getting worse and worse. I posted something about 9 months ago about how many people Facebook had let go. And I apologize, I don't remember the exact number, but it was something like 18,000 people.
A lot of people.
Okay. 18,000 families. Yeah, that day, 18,000 families. And look, Facebook doesn't pay people lightly, right? These people were making 70, 80, 90, $100,000 plus. Their families were dependent on that income, right? And then it's gone one day. So what has appealed to me about the trading industry and what actually got my mind into, okay, this is something that I want to support, is the idea that from a taking ownership of your action standpoint, from the ability to control your own destiny, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Trading opens up that door, right? And then now Randall, who, Randall's is semi-retired, right? So Randall I'm pulling him as hard out of retirement as I can pull him, right? You got a guy that's semi-retired, but Randall supplements his income with trading. You've got the housewife who before she wasn't sure what to do to consistently make revenue, and she was looking for something that was a quote side hustle, and now she's supplementing her family income with trading. And as well as I do, how many examples of students we have. We've got the school teachers, we've got truck drivers, this isn't something that's just there for a specific mindset. If anything, it's a wider demographic than just about everything else that's out there that's available, because it's focused on discipline, right? It's
definitely focused on discipline. If you are not disciplined, you're going to fail. Just bottom line.
And humility, right? So
this business will humble you in a heartbeat.
Very quickly. And there's and this is the thing. That doesn't mean you can be humble and you can be disciplined. You don't have to be a lawyer to do that. You don't have to be an investment banker to do that. You look back to who the most successful floor traders were through the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. They weren't college educated MBAs. They were guys, most of them were high school educated, if that, right? Yeah. You speak to a lot of these guys and they're like, man, I was either going to join my dad and be a plumber, or I was going to take that opportunity to trade on the floor. So instead I took the opportunity to trade on the floor and made tens of millions of dollars, right? It sounds
just happen to know somebody. A lot of people, they just happen to know somebody. That's honestly how I got in. My brother-in-law knew somebody in there. Said,
and the door opened. And the door opened.
And what opened the door for me was an ad on Sirius.
Yeah. Think about that.
It's a myriad ways you find out about these things, but then you just got to capitalize on it. You've got to take advantage of it and understand when you have an opportunity presented and jump on it.
Yeah. But isn't it cool too? I think the way that like really it all opened. I mean, obviously the doors were opened and started a bit before COVID, but I mean, a lot of this stuff went in right when COVID hit, and it was crazy. And everybody was all over the world. I'm in France. You know, we had people in Colombia. I mean, we had people, Philippines.
Yeah.
I mean, literally, we got people all over the world.
All over the world. Yep.
And we brought them together. You know, and got this whole group together.
As far east as New Zealand, we had a client over there.
New Zealand and Australia.
Australia. I don't think we have it from China yet.
I don't even know if it's allowed in China. Is it allowed in China? It might not be allowed.
I don't know.
I have no idea.
Listen, let's not raise that issue right now, okay? There might be some security issues with that. The last thing we want to do is create national security issues. But you know, Fabs, to your point, you know, we have you know, an introduction to this. Randall says he found it on Sirius. You had, you know, a family member that happened to know about it. And it's interesting because this kind of stumbled on my lap through another relationship. And when I saw it, I have to be frank with you guys, I was completely turned off when I first saw it. Okay.
Really?
I completely turned off. And I'm going to tell you why. You know, working on Wall Street, I know traders. And this idea that like, you're going to teach me to trade online, like, come on. And then you see some of the ads and these guys are like, make $10 million in one day. And you're like, come on, like, we know that's not true, right? We know that's not true. I was completely turned off to it. And what turned me around, what actually changed the way that I looked at this entire business was the success of the students. Right. So it shouldn't come as a surprise to us that Pat can trade. Right. It shouldn't come as a surprise to us that Bubba can trade. The guy was on the floor for 30 plus years. Right. It shouldn't come as a surprise. If he can't trade, something's wrong. Right. But what surprised me was talking to people like you, Randall, who learned a method that they were able to repeat, that they were able to duplicate and replicate results with consistently. And when I saw that, I went, now hold on a second. Now we're on to something. We're on to something when I can take knowledge out of my brain and I can give it to Michael Fabiano and I can give it to Randall Matheny, and they can then use that to make money with. Okay.
And it changes lives.
Changes lives.
Changes lives.
Changes lives. I mean, how many times?
I think I remember, Z, when you said, you know, the thing about your parents taught you to be a carpenter and how you love that aspect of this because it's something that you can pass on. Why don't you go ahead and explain that part? Because I still remember when you said it in the morning meeting and it made so much sense to me. It really brought it all together. So
the perspective of my parents and truthfully of my parents' generation was, you know, the college thing was great, but you might be in between jobs or you might not get a job that pays all the bills. So you might have to go do things. Right. And I remember, you know, my friends bartending and my friends doing different things. And the simple truth of the matter is my parents said, look, you're going to learn construction. Right. And I did. I went and I learned. I mean, I do a lot of work around my house primarily because I do better quality work than half the contractors out there. You know what I'm saying?
You show up, right?
Yeah, I show up
right.
on time and I work till the job's done. But no, the truth of the matter is they taught me that and it pushed me towards that because they wanted me to have something to fall back on. Okay. They wanted me to have something to fall back on in the event that I lost my job, in the event that, you know, there was a disruption in the industry that I was in. Right. And they didn't use those terms. That wasn't the way they thought. They looked at it as you got to have something reliable. Right. You got to have something reliable. And nowadays, I think that's gotten even worse. I think you look at your average college student right now. Okay. Coming out of school, unless they're in a very specialty field. Right. So like one of my boys is in computer science. Okay. Totally different thing, right? They're going to have a job as soon as they get out if they know what they're doing. But if you're in, say, like a more general liberal arts degree, what are you going to do when you get out? Right?
Teach.
What are you going to do?
Maybe teach.
Maybe, right? And again, they're shortening teacher salaries right now. They're cutting teacher salaries. They cut their pensions. They're doing all that right now. So what are you going to do that has job security? During my time, listen, learn construction, learn to bartend, learn to do something that you can fall back on. Okay. For the next generation, it's going to be digital, guys. For the coming generation, it's
100%.
Digital. Okay.
100%. And that's going to be something that they're going to, that they can teach to their student or to their kids. It's not, I mean, the whole, that thing is, that whole time has changed, right? That's all your parents knew. So that they were like, look, man, this is what you're going to have to do. And this is the only thing I can teach you. But now they're going to have those different means that they can be like, look, I started this YouTube channel when I was, 14 and started crushing it,
Yeah. Well, I laugh. Like, even my daughter, she's 9. She turns 10 next week. Like, she has a YouTube channel. She's got like 900 followers or something. And it's like all these kids in their school come up to her and they're like, great post, girl. I'm like, what did you post? Like, what did you do? But the thing is that this generation that's coming has a completely different job outlook. I'll tell you another thing. AI has destroyed a lot of the jobs that were out there. Particularly the liberal arts jobs. I mean, from a copywriting standpoint, why are you going to hire a copywriter when AI can write it and you can go back in and edit it? And it's going to pull the best of the best that's out there? I'd rather learn how to use AI than I would go pay a salary to go write that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
and talking about the younger generation, like the high school students should be learning this.
100%.
They are.
But that's it. That's my point.
Segue. So about 4 or 5 months ago now, we've always taught in the future space for Target Trading Academy, and one of the problems is we've never really found someone in the options space, right? Because the options is a totally different animal from what we do. We weren't able to find anyone that really gelled with us and had, like we said about Pat and his methodology, we never really had someone whose method worked consistently, right? And we actually found someone, right? We found Bubba. So Todd Horowitz, former floor trader, loved his method. And when we started talking, one of the things he says to me, he goes, hey, by the way, I have this program called High School Investing. I don't know if you want to do anything with it. And I'm like, man, I've been thinking about this for a while now. So we've actually started a program. We're building it up right now. We've already started talking to school boards about it, about issuing it to students. It's a combination of 3 things. All right. One is it's financial literacy. This is a hot topic right now, guys.
Financial literacy.
Yeah. So the idea of what a bank account is and how it works, what a credit card is, what's the difference between a credit card and a debit card, what is car insurance, how do you buy real estate, what are some considerations that you should have in these things, what's the language, right, that you use. So this is a huge field right now. Schools, Florida, Michigan, California, New York, I can go down the list of schools. They, by 2025, are requiring every school to have an accredited financial literacy program. Most of the schools don't. Okay, I tell you that right now. Most of the schools don't. We're developing a program right now. It is online based, which a lot of these kids are used to now, right? They lived through COVID, so they're used to going to school online. It's not an odd thing for them. It's online based. It's got live and video classes. It's an A+ program, right, that we can deliver nationwide. So you've got the financial literacy component of it, but that's just the door opener. That gets us past the gatekeeper. Because behind that, I think there's 2 other skills that kids nowadays should learn that I think are lifetime skills. Okay. The first is trading, high school investing. Okay. That is a skill that they can learn now. They don't have to use it right now. They can learn it now. Okay.
And have it available. Yep.
And have it available, right?
Yep.
Have it available when they're in college. Listen, would you rather bartend till 2 a.m, or would you rather get up each morning and from 8:30 till 10:30 each day trade and make better money than half the teachers that are working there. Which one is it? Which one would you prefer? You know what I'm saying? So it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so
And it's something that don't you wish that you would have learned that? I do. I honestly truly wish
That's-
I would have learned that stuff in school. It would have been so important to me. I mean, I talk to this about this with my accountant all the time. I'm like, how did you get into this? Like, it's amazing, her knowledge, and every time she explains something to me, I'm like, God, how did I not know this?
How
And
did I
now
not
I'm just
know this?
eating it up. Yeah, and now I'm just eating it up. Now I'm all I want to do is learn more about it. You know.
And it's funny because I was on I did an interview for we won a big award about 3 months ago. We're the number one provider in our space. Okay, it was a big award, Education 2.0 conference. And they had done an interview and they asked a really interesting question. They said, "What's your biggest regret with all of this?" And you know what my answer was? I wish we'd started it sooner. I wish I'd learned this back in 1993. You know what I'm saying? Like, it would have changed everything, right? So that's my biggest regret when it comes to trading. I wish I had learned to trade when I was 16, 17, 18 years old, right? And had that knowledge now and had built up not just the skill of trading, but build up that portfolio, baby, right? Because by now you're trading large contracts with fewer risk and you can be super conservative and do well. And it doesn't take that long to get there, you know?
Right.
Now, what takes the time is learning how to do it and learning how to do it properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
With discipline.
I tried to do this back in 71, 72. I tried to get involved in the stock market, right? I was always wanting to delve into it, and I did, and I lost my ass with it. What little money I had, I lost it. It was back then was the buy and hold and all the other things that go along with it. But if I'd had just a eighth of the knowledge that I have now, I would be so farther ahead than I am. It's not that I'm that far behind now,
but I think the world has changed a lot, and I think there was a period of time in the 70s, 80s, and 90s where information wasn't readily available, and I think the important information was kept from the public by financial institutions. Why wouldn't they? They had to protect their income, right? They had to protect their income.
They had a monopoly on it.
Why? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now I think the internet, I mean, I can get more information on my phone right now than I could get on my Bloomberg terminal in the early 2000s, right? Like there's more information on my phone right now than I could have gotten on a Bloomberg terminal in the early 2000s. Think about that. And that's only expanding. So the problem I think becomes sifting through the garbage and finding the good stuff. And I think that's where the hardest thing is on the internet. It's almost like, remember those days before you got all the junk mail in your email inboxes, right? So nowadays our emails are full of junk mail, right? And they've tried spam protections and this and that. None of that shit works. Let's be honest, right? None of that shit works. The simple fact of the matter is you've got to find a program that works, right? You got to find something that you can adhere to. It takes discipline. It takes focus.
It takes time.
Yeah. One of the things I liked is someone had asked me, give me a metaphor for what it's like to trade. And they're like, is it like, working with Excel spreadsheets and is it like high-end math and this and that? And in the back of my head, I'm like, no, it's actually nothing like that. It's nothing like that at all. I actually think it's more like playing a sport where you've repeatedly practiced this one action, waiting for a moment to act on it, right? So think like in basketball, right? You have your one move that you're going to go for when the opportunity presents itself, or in wrestling where you're setting up an opportunity. It's more akin to that in my mind than it is anything, where you've repetitively practiced this one thing and you've repetitively practiced it until it's time to execute. And all you're looking for is that opening for execution.
Yeah, and waiting for that moment, the part of the discipline.
Patience, waiting. And the thing is to me, that's the hardest part. That is the one factor that we can tell you it till we're blue in the face. We can give you work, right? Like the first 100 that will force you to get good at it. But then you still have to put in the effort, right? And it's just like with sports. I can give you the drill.
When human emotion comes into play, it's a completely different story, right?
Exactly.
That just adds another gear.
And that's a good segue to the LODs. The human
component
that is involved in this is taken away with a letter of direction, because with the letter of direction, it's being directed by a program that we know that works.
Yep.
But so also on it, before you even explain it, think about this just to add on to what we were saying. How cool is it now that you can go through and learn the way that something is being traded, but also have it traded for you on the side while you're going through the learning. So then you make all of the mistakes and stuff on sim, and then you can make get through all of that stuff without having to sit there and just only be on the sidelines. You can still have your money working for you on the other side of it, right?
That's exactly it. It's exactly it. So you know, and you bring up an interesting point, and I think about it, emotions. I have one of my sons is a phenomenal basketball player. Okay, he's an absolutely phenomenal basketball player, and one of the reasons why he's so good is he's able to play without emotion. If you walked into the gym and you saw him in the middle of a game, you would have no idea if he just made his last 10 shots or if he missed his last 10 shots. He just plays exactly the same way, you know, and it's this smoldering confidence, right? Kobe was that way. I think of like Kobe Bryant. Like he could miss his last 10 shots or have made his last 10, you'd have no idea. The guy plays exactly the same way. Yeah. So having that aspect of it is great, but let's be frank. Most of us aren't like that, right? Most of us are emotional when it comes to money, when it comes to sports, when it comes to dealing with our children, whatever it is. We have emotional swings. That's normal, right? It's totally normal.
For sure.
One of the reasons why, at least in theory, we hire, you know, stockbrokers and we hire, you know, we pay for mutual funds is the idea that they are going to be the emotionless robot and take care of this stuff. At least in theory, they're the well-trained executors of the plan, right?
Right.
And that's great. And Randall, you brought up an interesting point. How many mutual funds can you sign up for that have an education component that are going to teach you what that mutual fund is trading?
I don't know
any. Name one. Don't know any. Name one. Right. So for me, a big factor for me, right, is the idea of getting people to understand exactly what they're doing and getting them to be able to have access to something that can treat it, you know, for all intents and purposes without emotion. There's a ton of regulations in this industry, right? There's regulations about automated trading. There's regulations about who can trade what. There's something called the CFTC, right, which regulates commodities and futures. There's
NFA.
CTAs, the NFA. There's CTAs, which is commodities trading advisors. There's CPOs, which is commodities pool operators. There's all these different aspects to this, and you know the thing is that they all play a role. And one of the huge benefits we have here in the United States is we are protected, right? The regulators protect the investors. All right. The regulators aren't there to protect Merrill Lynch. The regulators aren't there to protect Goldman Sachs. The regulators are there to protect Michael Fabiano and Randall Matheny, right? And that's a good thing as long as you can operate within the system, right? So one of the big problems that I've seen,
unless you're trading FX, unless you're
trading, at that point, just go to the Wild West. Just go to the Wild West. Your 1800s Wild West. Make sure your 6-shooter's loaded because you never know where the next shot's coming from, right? So
exactly.
So the simple solution is, okay, learn to trade for yourself, but not everyone can do it, right? Or maybe not everyone can do it to the way that they want to, right? So that's a great idea in theory, but in practice, it doesn't always work. You get people that understand right, what we're doing. They understand the theory behind it, but they can't necessarily put it into practice in an effective way.
They have a difficult time executing it. I see it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say, Randall, you see our new students on a regular basis. So your exposure to this is, you're going to get people on a regular basis who they get it, they understand it, but they just can't
execute it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So what we've done is we've developed a relationship with a few different introducing brokers, and basically taught them to trade the methodology. Okay, giving them the software, giving them the things that they need. And then what you're able to do is to use something called letter of direction, right? Which allows you to engage with them, use the software there, and let them be your trade executor. Okay, and it's called letter of direction trading. All right. It gives you two major benefits. One is this methodology that is seen day in and day out in the classroom. I'm not going to talk about numbers. I'm just going to say, look, you guys know what the success is. If you follow Target or you follow, we produce everything publicly, so you guys can all see what the numbers are. You see the success, right? It gives you the ability to embrace that success without having to do it yourself.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the other thing it does, right, is it allows you via letter of direction trading, it allows you to leverage yourself. Okay. I'm one person. All right. Even with software, I'm watching 2, maybe 3 markets at a time. All right. There's 15 markets, 12 markets that I could be trading, that there could be opportunities in. I can't watch all of those simultaneously. I can try, but I'm going to miss opportunities in the key markets. Okay. So what it allows me to do is it allows me to leverage myself. All right. It allows me to say, okay, since I can't watch, say, all of the metals right now, I can get into a letter of direction metals tranche and let that perform the same type of trading I'm doing, but just perform it over there. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the mindset behind it. That's the mindset behind it. So what we've done is
how do you know how to put your trust in those people, because they don't know what you know? So how have you incorporated that into kind of the protection side of it? Like, who am I to just trust them? Like, if I know it maybe better than them, how am I?
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So what we did was we built a relationship, and I'll use CTG, which is Capital Trading Group, as an example, as an introducing broker. We built a relationship with them, and had software built specifically for them that matches the trading methodology. So they're essentially educated as any one of our students is on what we do. They have exposure to the software, the same software that you guys have. The only difference is they're disciplined traders. Right? Mm-hmm. They're following the execution of the software the way it's supposed to be followed if you can't follow it yourself. Okay. Now, can I sit there and tell you that the performance is off the chains? No, I'm not going to sit there and do that because of all the regulations and everything else. Historical performance is not indicative of future results and all that other. I think there's like a boilerplate thing you're supposed to read out, right? But the simple fact of the matter is if you believe in the system and you believe in the method, that's what they're doing. And that gives you the opportunity via the letter of direction trading to take advantage of the method without you yourself having to trade it, or, and this is the other factor, having to dedicate the time to it. Okay. As you guys well know, and I can say this for myself too, I went from trading, 3-4 mornings a week to I haven't traded in almost 2 months now. We've been so busy, right? Yeah. Life events, man, things pop up and we can't necessarily sit in front of a computer for an hour every morning. Right.
That's right.
So what do? Letter of direction trading allows you to continue to stay in that trading world, right? Without having to physically be there the whole time. All right. And I have a bigger picture. I have a thing in mind of what I want to do for me personally. Right. And what I see is I see it as almost building my own hedge fund. Right. So I don't need $10 million in assets to deposit into the hedge fund to have BlackRock or someone like that trade it for me. Right. What I can do is I can pick each one of these different tranches, right, with letter of direction trading, and they're different. They're corresponding to different markets. The correlations are different. They're not necessarily even correlated to each other in any way. So I can get the benefit of each one of those and have a traditional investment portfolio. I built my own hedge fund, right? With my own personal assets. I get the same type of results as someone that had $10 million at BlackRock or wherever, right? Now, are the results actual numerically? I can't speak to those. Okay. And I won't speak to those. But what I can say is think about the opportunity that you have. Okay. The opportunity that you have is you can have things traded according to the methodology that you learned, right? And other methodologies that are similar, that have been underwritten and software developed for, and you can diversify right then and there. To me, that's really hard to beat. That's
it's amazing. But I also want you to tell them, the listeners, and because I don't think anybody that's listening may know about our money management structure and how you guys have actually incorporated that into the letter of direction trading. I think that's a really important thing for everybody to understand.
Yeah. So when we first started looking into, I didn't know what letter of direction trading was a year ago. I'll be blunt with you guys. I didn't know what it was, never heard of it. And it was introduced to us. Yeah. And I've been in this game for a while now. And it just, I didn't really understand how the modeling worked and what it was. So I started looking into it. And one of the things I noticed was that there were big drawdowns on a lot of the providers for letter of direction trading. So I was curious, and we started speaking to different companies and getting to know what their strategies were. If you guys know Pat Assalone, okay, Pat isn't about the big upswing. Pat is more worried about protecting your profits, protecting what you capture and not losing, because he knows it's much harder to grind out of a hole than it is to protect it on the way up. Okay. It's simple, right?
So true.
It's so simple, but it's so hard to do.
Well, what's interesting is these other letter of direction providers didn't have a risk management strategy. And it isn't even that they had one, but it wasn't tight enough or anything. Some of them didn't even have one, which is incredible to me. Okay. So by incorporating Pat's risk management strategies into the software, all right, that was used for letter of direction, what we've seen is we've seen this uptick, right, where people are going, oh, that's different because it protects you, right? That's different because 2 trades and you're gone for the day, right? That's different because, and there's a series, and I won't go into all the various aspects of it, but there's like, I think 6 different individual rules on just the risk management side for the trading, not even for the month, just that day in that specific vertical. Okay. Those rules change the grind up versus the grind, keep maintaining your profits. That's a major game changer in what we do. And again, those of you guys that know Pat's methodology know this. In his mind, he looks at, okay, if you are at 100 and you lose 25%, the misnomer in people's heads is I only have to gain 25% to get it back. No. You have to gain 33% just to get back to 0, which means you actually have to outperform your loss in order to get it back. Okay. This is very simple math, right? But we don't think about things that way. In our head, it's 25 down, 25 up, but that's not the way the real world works. Right? Because now you're at 3 and you have to gain a whole nother one to get back up to 4, if that makes sense. Right?
It does. No, it totally makes sense.
You go down to 3, that's only a 25% loss. But to get from 3 to 4, you've got to gain 33+% back to get back to break even. Nobody wants to fight that uphill battle. So the mindset is protect yourself. If you capture a profit, capture it. Right? If you're consistently capturing, walk away. How many times does Pat scream in the room, go home? Why are you still here? Right?
Yeah.
You had a $400 day, had a $1,200 day, go home.
End up losing the $1,200 and $1,200 more.
And that's exactly right. Why are you staying at the casino if you just made the money? Right? That's the argument. So that aspect of it has been incorporated in, and we continue, as I said, the software that we're providing that's being sold to the to people for use for LOD. okay, that's being used by CTG and other introducing brokers. The software that's being sold is continuously being improved. And that's another major factor here. Is this isn't just about software sales. This is about building a relationship, developing a relationship that allows people, particularly us, right, to maintain this reputation that's been built in the trading world. I challenge people to go look at Target Trading Academy's results. Those are our student results, guys. Okay, that's our students trading. That's not our instructors trading. Go back 2-3 years and you'll see the postings. And what are you going to see? You're going to see success. Okay. And I know you guys preach it, but to me, that's the simplest thing. That's the simplest thing. So
100%. It's big. I mean, I know that you got to head out here shortly, Z, but I think it's we're all on board. We
I know you guys are on board. You guys live and breathe it, man.
Yes, we do.
Well, and just to that point, Fabs, in all seriousness, you can speak from the inside out on Target. You guys are both insiders on Target. When I talk to you guys in the mornings, when I talk to you guys at meetings, when I talk to you guys at events, I believe in what we do. And this goes back to the beginning of this conversation. I believe in what we do. I believe what we're doing is something that is actually good for people. I believe it's a greater good scenario. I believe, as Randall says, it can change people's lives. Think about the fact that we have the opportunity to do that. I tell you guys that all the time in the meetings. We get to change people's lives. We get excited about it. Think of the loyalty. Think of the loyalty that we have internally to each other because we believe in what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? So
I mean, how many relationships have we built? I mean, that was one big thing when I moved over here to France and didn't know the language and stuff like that. I didn't have people to talk to every day, and I've learned that me being on the phone and me talking with our clients ends up a lot of time turning into relationships, good friends.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
I see them when I come back to the United States and stuff like that. I mean,
isn't it cool to go and see the people?
That aspect of it is really, really cool.
Well, Randall, you go to all the events and when you meet these people in person and they hug you, right?
It's
I will never forget the Vegas, because it was in the middle of COVID. Everyone was petrified. We thought there were going to be zombies and shit like that. We had no idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And we show up in Vegas, and I remember this because this was a big thing for me. It was one of those photo moments, those flashbulb moments that you remember. It's the middle of COVID, right at the outset. Stuff was shutting down, this, that, the other thing, and there were people hugging each other. And I said, man, I didn't expect that. And that's how much they cared about each other. And that's other students. They've built up that relationship, that trust, that cult-like belief and following in what we do. So, absolutely, guys.
Really good.
I'm gonna leave the link down below for anybody that wants to see more about the LOD or Nova Trading Lab, and also, of course, Target Trading Academy. Thank you guys so much for being on this call. We'll see you soon.
Much love, brother. See you guys later. Bye.
All right.